Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the RFR Formula One season. Here today, we are in no other place than the Buenos Aires racetrack here in Argentina, circuit, or Autodromo, I should say, Juan Oscar Galvez. And today, we are here for the Argentine Grand Prix, the first race in South America for RFR in the history of this league. The 20 drivers of 10 teams will once more be taking to the track for an exciting day of action. Qualifying is underway here at the track, and with only a few minutes remaining, two to be specific, we will have a look at the current order for the grid. Currently, with 2 minutes remaining, the third wheel is still the fastest driver. A 121.128 sees him go first on the timing board. However, Maximus, in his first race of the season, is currently in second place with a 121.141. That's only like a tenth or a hundredth of a second, I should say, between them. So this is going to be a very close battle. However, it looks like the third wheel is able to improve on his times. Let's take a look at who is out on track currently. Abdi is not out on track. Loisetto looks like he's done. Maximus, however, would in fact appear to be on a flyer. Or is he? He does seem to be. Let's see, he's going into the second sector, and it's an invalid lap, so that means he will not improve, at least on this lap. Hardman is out on track as well. However, that lap was also invalid. Let's take a look and see. Is anyone done? Hardman still has at least one more lap. TTB also out on the circuit with a 125.1 as his current fastest lap. It's not very good, and it's not obviously going to cut it. Oh, and it looks like he just might have had a controller disconnect there as he just went flying straight in. Yeah, looks like he had a small issue with his steering wheel there. Unfortunately, we caught that. So he won't be improving on this lap, obviously. Looks like he's calming down for one more lap, perhaps. Hardman has had an off, and it looks like he's done as well. Warrior Gabriel returning back on track, but he's not going to be able to set another lap. So maybe he's just going out for the sake of practice. Opoki, fourth place finisher from last week, on another flying lap. He has not improved in sectors 1 or 2. So it does not yet. He's aborting that lap. He will be heading into the pits. And that will be his qualifying done. I do not believe we have any other runners currently on track on a flying lap. There is the Williams of Maximus, faster third sector, his personal best, but it is not enough. And he has obviously got to be displeased with that result. He could only manage second. He was that close, a hundredth of a second gap between himself and pole. However, though, as you can see, the drivers are pulling into the pits. Let's take a look at the cars once more. The new Velocita livery right here, as seen on Abdi's car. This is the livery that has been decided for at least Argentina, as you can see with sponsorship from Macro Argentina and obviously KFC. There's third wheel's car. Very easy to distinguish between them because of the large American flag on third wheels versus the British flag on Abdi's. There's that. Take a look at the Toyota car, as is also newly livered. This looks very sick indeed, doesn't it? PTT Zent Toyota in full force. One of the cars that stands out the most on the grid. BMW still have their testing livery, however. Interestingly, the Velocita and Pacific cars look very similar. So that's interesting. Now that qualifying is over, we will have a look at the current qualifying results. You can see third wheel on pole once again here for the second week in a row. A 121.128 sees him set the fastest qualifying time and 1/100th of a second behind him. That's a very small gap, all things considered, around this track. Is Maximus in second, and the timing board has been shut down. Alright, we'll go for a quick break, and we will see you again for the race. Alright, everyone, we are back for a quick moment. Since I got cut off before from the final qualifying results, I will go over them once more. So, starting on pole is the third wheel for the second week in a row, as I mentioned before, and only 1/100th of a second behind him is Maximus SRB. Starting third is Opake, good result for the Williams boys. So that's a 2-3 for them. They're going to be looking to build off of that. And Abdi can only manage fourth, which, as we know, I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but I was talking to him before, and he said he is really not feeling well. He is under the weather. So we'll see if that impacts his endurance during the race, if he's going to struggle later on. In fifth place is Nathan. However, as I'm understanding, Nathan will be unable to take the start of the Grand Prix. That would put Loisedo in fifth. He did, in fact, qualify sixth, though. G-Man managed to get seventh. Not Omnius G-Man, but the other G-Man. The lesser-known one, if you will. That's a good result for him. Very surprising to see him ahead of the likes of Hardman, who qualified eighth. Omnius will start ninth. Of course, that's without any of the dropouts. And Prime Drifter could only manage 10th. That's a really shocking result for me. I was really expecting him to be up there, but clearly not today. Builder managed to get 11th. I do believe that he is struggling with the practice, but however, his race pace does seem to be there. So that's good for him. TTB, obviously the only person to attempt the alternate strategy last week. He will start 12th today. Warrior Gabriel will start 13th. I believe he only managed to get one lap in. So he will start from 13th. Almost identical to last week. We'll see if he's able to pull back onto the podium. And Kundai was unable to set a lap time. He will start 14th for the Argentine Grand Prix. And of course, as a reminder, if anyone else decides to start the race without qualifying, they will have to start from the back. So that would be positions 15 through 20. It does not appear we have any privateers again this week. So that is the final starting grid for the race. We'll see you back in a few. Alright, hello everyone, we are back and we are ready for the start of the Argentinian Grand Prix. However, before we do this, we are of course going to have a run through of the grid for the start. The drivers are currently rolling out and doing their formation before they line up in their grid spot, and we are ready to go for the race. Starting on pole for the Argentinian Grand Prix is the Velocita driver of third wheel, his second pole of the season, and we will have to see if he is able to capitalize on it like he did last time out. Starting second in the Green Williams is Maximus SRB. Of course, he missed the first race of the season last weekend. We will have to see if he's able to gain back some valuable points in the championship and perhaps construct a title fight himself. Starting in third is the other Williams of Opaki. He's looked very strong all weekend. We will have to see if he is able to be the first rookie to take a win or even a podium here today. Starting fourth is Abdi in the other Velocita car. Of course, it's a checkerboard front row of Velocita and Williams, and these two teams look like they're going to be the ones to fight for the Constructor Championship. We'll have to see if Abdi's going to be able to pull through today and perhaps bring it to them for good. Not on the grid, starting fifth currently is Nathan Cow. Obviously, it has already been expressed that he seemingly will not be starting the race. We will have to see if he will. Starting in sixth place today is Loisedo in the Dragonborn Racing car. Of course, Loisedo had a strong run out last week. However, he was not able to capitalize on the mistakes of others due to mistakes of himself. With a solid fifth place finish, he's looking to build on that today, and having started from, in theory, fifth place, we'll have to see what he can do. Starting seventh in the black BMW is G-Man. G-Man obviously had a rough outing last week, and after a mechanical failure around midway through the race, he was unable to finish. Now, with week 2, he's a little bit more experience under his hands, and let's see what he can do with it. Starting 8th in the Samosa Racing car, it is Hardman 656. Obviously, Hardman did not take the start last week. However, it'll be interesting to see. Well, he did take the start, but he was unable to get a good result, I should say. We will see if Hardman's able to get a better result than last time here, and starting from 8th, it should be, in theory, a little bit easier. Starting from 9th in the other Dragonborn car, it is Onmius. Of course, he missed last week. It'll be a struggle for him once again. And finally, starting in 10th place is Prime Drifter, a driver who was so close to points last week. Let's see what he can do again. The rest of the runners, as you can see, contain of Builder TTB, Warrior in 13th, in 14th is Builder, 15th is the Sierra car, and in 16th is the other Audi of Jair, who is a late entrant to the race. Let's head down trackside for the start. The drivers are getting ready. As you can see, 28cc limit on the top. Pits is gear 1. It will be a 32 lapper. It's going to be very interesting. As we understand, it should be a one-stop again. That would seem to be the most ideal. However, we don't really know for sure. It'll be interesting to see what strategies everyone else can do. We're going to watch the start from over here in turn 1, and we'll see what the drivers can do. Coming out of the final corner, it does appear that the third wheel will be able to hold his lead over Maximus. Abdi has jumped up to third. Opoki did not have a very good start as he dropped to fifth. Here they go into turn one once again. It's a very interesting start. You can see some people really did have good ones, but other people were very slow to go. So it's going to be interesting to see if guys like Opoki are able to make back places. As you know, this track's going to be very notorious for splitting up the field because of how technical it is. Of course, last weekend in Adelaide, it was very tight, honestly, and most of the corners were one-lined. It was very easy to stay in a group, but as you can see, things are already spacing out, which is quite fantastic to see, all things considered. The battle for the lead will continue, though. The third wheel and Maximus are slightly pulling away. Abdi's holding third quite nicely, though, so credits to him. Obviously, as I've mentioned multiple times up to this point, he's been feeling under the weather. We're going to have to see what he's able to do, and if he's able to stick with them in the long term. We have a very, very good battle for fourth here, though. As it would seem, Warrior Gabriel's already up to fourth place. That's an amazing start from him. He got very lucky that some people did not have good starts, and that was just a prime example of how important starting position is. You know, if he started up front, I think he could have been in the lead right now. However, that's just not the case. I'm going to jump on board with Builder of Worlds here. Or not. We'll go on board with Warrior, who obviously has put in a massive effort to charge up through the field. As you can see, he's running well in fourth place, and he is slowly closing in on Abdi here. Third wheel set the fastest lap, but it does seem a lot of people are having corner cut trouble. Kundai already has 10 corner cuts. That is massive. As you can see, Kundai is really struggling to keep the cars on track here this season. Now Warrior's going to go through this infield section and into the Senna S, a very tight chicane-like corner. It's important to get a very good run on exit to go as wide as you possibly can here. We'll try again with Builders on board, and it does in fact seem to work this time. He's had a pretty good start, all things considered. However, it's not been optimal as he might have wanted. He's in 8th place currently. He's just popped ahead of Omnius and is going to continue fighting. He's got to try and get by G-Man now, the next man up. Now they're going to go side by side for 8th place, and Omnius is going to get the best out of him here. Going into this tight left-right kink, very important to try and make sure you don't corner cut there, as that's going to be one of the most prominent corner cutting spots on the track. 4 laps in, though, and it does seem things have started to cool down other than this battle. There's a couple more battles for non-significant positions back there. We'll jump onto those in a bit. But this battle's still going strong. Builder's going to get a good run and exit, but he just goes a bit too far wide there. G-Man will hold the position for another section of corners. Look at that run that Builder got on the inside. G-Man just could not hold that line. He just ran out of grip there on that middle lane. However, Builder looks like he's struggling through the Senna S, and G-Man's going to get another good run. Omnius, I should say. Omnius is going to get the better of Builder this time by. And so, while this swap of position continues, we're going to take a look at how Hardman is doing. He is leading this pack of 5 or so cars. And this is just a massive squabble for the minor places. Kundai has been really struggling so far. He's got 17 corner cuts through 5 laps. That is just embarrassing. That's about 3 corner cuts per lap. You could tell that he's really not came to grips with this track. He's struggling in every place to hold the lines that he needs to. He's really going to have to just chillax now and try and understand what's going on with his car. obviously running in last place of the 15 runners currently. Yeah, so these battles have seemingly ironed themselves out here. And now we're going to see as the cars come down the front straight for the 6th time today. Massive flyby there of the cars. Now towards the end of this first sector, you know, this carousel-like hairpin, it's a very long corner, and this is one of the most important corners on the entire track because it sets up your run for the back straight. Getting that thing right is so important in so many ways. It would appear maybe Hardman has DNF'd already, as he has not crossed the line yet, and it looks like his camera is disconnected. Let's take a look and see in the pits if Hardman is in fact out of this Grand Prix. Yes, it does look like Hardman is out of this Grand Prix. His car is stopped in pit entry. However, it is out of the way enough to not cause a safety car, so that is good by him to get it out of the way. I don't know if that was a mechanical failure or if that was a different problem. However, the third wheel will still hold the lead going on to lap number 7. He is having a great run of things today in that Koenigsegg-powered Velocita car. Velocita boys are 1-3 once again. It's been very clear so far who the fastest people are. And as you can see, the Velocita guys are 1-2 in the timing too, and third wheel has actually set a faster time than he qualified with. That's pretty remarkable if you ask me. So he is really flying early on here. And yeah, Warrior's settled into 4th place, so he's had a massive start. He's gotten ahead of Loisedo and Opoki. And it looks like those two are actually having a battle of their own. We'll jump on board with Opoki here, who is currently the lead of the two. Oh, he went very wide there. But you see, this is just an example of the multi-lane nature of this track. There's multiple lines. You can see he had a really deep entry, but he got a very fast exit because of the tight apex that he made. So that's just one of these the challenges with this track. It's which way is faster. That's the question you really have to ask as a driver. And of course, not only that, but you also have to make sure that you are getting the most out of the car in every corner. As you can see, these guys are going to run wide. Obviously, Loisedo did not quite go as wide as you probably could have and straighten out the car as easy as possible. So he did lose a little bit of time there in that final corner. And Opoki's opened up around a 0.6 of a second gap. So Loisedo falling back is the trend so far, especially with Warrior Gabriel currently moving up the field. But it looks like the top 3 do have a pretty solid gap to everyone else. So it looks very good for them going forward. We'll jump on board with Kundai, who's currently in 13th place, 22 seconds back, and he's fighting for 10th, or 11th, excuse me, at this point in time. Looks like Builder's kind of had some troubles as well, because he's starting to fall back to this Gruppetto kind of group. And also TTB, who is 36 seconds behind. I'm wondering if he maybe has made an early pit stop, similar to last week, to try and maybe get something out of this race. Obviously, he seems to be very aggressive with his strategies, and last week it definitely paid off because he was not really anywhere through the entire race, but now he's in last. He's just going to have some free air, and he's going to be able to run some laps and hopefully get something out of this Grand Prix. And especially for these guys that are in the back every week, it's going to be very rough for them to try and score points with only 6 points paying positions. For example, it's pretty clear who the top 6 on speed are, as those are all the people under the 121s. And then there's a 0.6 of a second gap to anyone else, and even more after that. so it's just a very spread out field at the moment. As you can see, everyone's just driving around here. Comes the third wheel into the Senna S. Yeah, this section is very difficult to understand, the third sector. It's just, there's so many different ways it can go wrong, and only really one way it can go right, that it's such a pain in the butt. As you can see, Blaine reminding everyone that there's a mandatory pit stop that could happen at any point in time in the race, but it must happen at least once. Taking a look at the corner cuts currently, Kundai has 28, and that is on the CC limit. So it does appear Kundai will be having an early drive-through penalty. His corner cut rate has slowed down a lot, though, as it's now 2.8 per lap instead of more than 3. But it's still not very ideal, is it, for Kundai? As he's already struggling enough being in 13th. But now it just looks like he's going to have some extra hardships with having to do a drive-through. But that's on him, honestly. If he's unable to keep his act clean, then that's just what's going to happen naturally. We'll jump on board with Prime Drifter here, who is currently in a battle for 11 with Jair. Of course, Jair was a race winner last season, but of course now we know that the Renault car that he was using was pretty much on the borderline of illegal, or being illegal. It had incorrect values, as was determined in a test, and that resulted in him having a little bit of extra speed compared to everyone else. And now we can see maybe the real colors of Jair, how he's actually driving and how far back he is. But that could also just be a sort of unpreparedness. That's just a bit of speculation from my end. But Prime Drifter's looking like he's going to be able to get the overtake, and he will be able to get the overtake in here on lap 11. We're going on to lap 11. Kundai has officially received a drive-through penalty for too many corner cuts. So that is the first driver down to be struck down for that. And Prime Drifter is looking to overtake Builder here. That's a sight that I was not expecting to see, considering what happened last week. Builder looked very strong last week, but he is just struggling today, and it's very evident that this is a difficult track to compete in. And now we're going to head back up to the lead. Third wheel has opened up a 2.2 second gap, and actually the battle for second is in fact on right now. Maximus versus Abdi, and it looks like Abdi's going to get the overtake done here on this little short shoot section before the Senna S. However, they're going to go side by side on entry. Does appear, or not maybe, I was expecting Abdi to pull out there, but he was not able to, and so he will remain behind Maximus for at least one lap more. They're near enough to side by side there. You can cover them with about a tenth, excuse me. And yep, here they go. They're side by side still going through this little wooded section coming up here. Abdi's obviously coping with his illness very well. But, ooh, Maximus is going to get a very good run on exit there. However, they're going to remain side by side still, so this is a very important battle, as this is obviously what's going to define second place, with Warrior 5 seconds behind these guys. That's a massive gap. Maximus, though, is still going to hold this gap, and that's pretty remarkable from him, honestly. He's able to hold this position, and that's pretty solid for him. It's looking good for his championship currently. So we're going to have a look at the cars going through this course for a quick moment. Of course, no one has been lapped quite yet. However, third wheel is looking like he's going to get there by the end of the race. massive gap to anyone else. You could just see the amount of gaps that have actually happened. Here as they go into the end of the first sector, excuse me. As for me, we're going to go for a quick break here, and we'll come back to you with live action for what will most likely be the start of the pit stops. See you in one moment. Alrighty then, everybody, welcome back to coverage of the Season 3 Argentine Grand Prix. As you can see, pit stops are well underway, and most of the top drivers have already undergone one. However, a couple guys are still yet to come in. It does appear that everyone from third wheel to Abdi to Warrior to Maximus have all come in, however, and the gaps have remained mostly the same, too. It does appear that Abdi lost a lot of time in the pits. I'm not really sure what happened during his pit stop. But he's now fighting with Maximus for his life and for the podium. Very important for him to get this spot, as this is going to be everything for the team's championship. The Warrior's had a good run. He's beaten both Abdi and Warrior, or Maximus, and that's exactly why, because Warrior has not yet pit. He is now into the pits. We're going to watch this pit stop live here. First pit box, obviously, because of Renault being one of the leaders of the Constructors last season. And here he comes. He's going to come out here, and he's still going to be in 4th place. So that's very solid for him. However, third wheel has been running away with this race. The gap is now 4 seconds. So that's a very massive gap, if you will. It does appear Dirty NASCAR has acquired a drive-through penalty. Actually, speaking of drive-through penalties, let's take a look at where we are. Builder has 32 corner cuts. Dirty NASCAR has 29. Obviously, Kundai has already had 1 drive-through penalty. And he's at 17 again for 17 laps. So he's just not having a good run of things. And it looks like the other Audi of Jair has also come in and is now out of the pits and back running on track, however, in 13th place. Not a good run for him. Builder is in 14th. He's the last car out on track currently. I do not believe Kundai or G-Men or any of them have come into the pits yet. So that's still kind of inaccurate. But all things considered, it's just not a good outing. Someone who's genuinely surprised me today is G-Man 789. Because last week he was absolutely nowhere. But today he is looking good again. It looks like he is back in, or he is in a position, I should say, to be fighting for points. As he's obviously in 7th. And it's not like there's any big guys that are missing today either. Unlike last week. So a really good showing from G-Man 789 here. Bye.
Make sure you practice your
Yeah.
script, alright?
Did you lose the paper?
Okay.
You have easy. You know how to.
I know, I literally just say,
Apologies for that quick break. However, we are back once again. And as you can see, Opoki is remaining in 5th place. Loisetto, interestingly, he was just with him before, but Loisetto's dropped back a lot as well. It's around 5 seconds, 4 seconds actually. So, very good there as well. We're looking at people otherwise. TTB, as we know, was on an alternate strategy. It does not look like it has worked out, as obviously the pit cycle is pretty much played out in its own before with no safety car influence. So I'm not really seeing the value in the strategy today like last week, where he completely benefited off of that mid-race safety car that interrupted the pit sequence. Interestingly, it doesn't really look like anyone at the top has tried an alternate strategy. It looks like they all came in and around the same 3 or 4 laps. So that's all good and all. A reminder of the current points and basically the results from last week as well. Third wheel sits on top of the championship, having won last week with 10 points. And because Abdi got fastest lap last week, speaking of fastest lap, let's take a look. Currently, it's third wheel again with Maximus 2/10 behind. Abdi got fastest lap last week, so he reeled in 9 instead of the normal 8. Warrior was the other driver on the podium. It does not look like that's going to happen again this week. He had 6 points, and then Opoki, the rookie, managed 4, and Opoki is currently going to manage 2 points this week as things run. And Loisetto, too, just got bumped down to 1 point. He currently has 2 in 5th place. And, however, Builder, who scored 1 singular point last weekend in Adelaide, currently finds himself in 14th place with 0 points on the board today. That's a very rough outing. I'm not sure what the difference is between the past 2 races, really. I'm not sure why he's had this issue. However, at the end of the day, not the worst thing that could have happened. It does appear that we have a car stopped here on the outside of turn 1, and oh, never mind, that is an admin car. I'm not sure what's happening there. But anyway, we will go back on board with Dirty NASCAR here, who's currently fighting for 9th place with Prime Drifter, 2 rookies here battling it out. And as you can see, Dirty NASCAR has been able to hold his own, especially with that drive-through penalty that he acquired earlier in the race. Speaking of drive-through penalties, we'll go on board with third wheel here for another moment. Opoki is nearing a drive-through penalty, so that's going to destroy his 5th place as he has it right now. Anyone else that's really in the threat of corner cuts, though? Ooh, Abdi is 21. Abdi really needs to take it chill, because 21 corner cuts through 21 laps is not going to take him to the end of the race. And currently, he's holding on to 3rd place. He's fighting tooth and nail for that 2nd, though, with him and Maximus. But if I was Abdi right now, I would say, hey, listen, I'm not able to get it at the moment. I'm going to calm down and maybe try it back at the end when I have less laps and more availability for corner cuts. That was a large track extend, and that's going to be another corner cut. That is not very good for his hopes. And also, notably, Builder has been lapped, it seems. So too has his teammate Kundai. These guys are just not having a good day today, the PTT Zen Toyota guys. It's been very rough this race, with Kundai, who's already acquired his 2nd drive-through penalty and has been reset again. That's just devastating to his hopes. And it's happened 2 races in a row as well with the 2 drive-through penalties. I'm not sure why he's unable to keep it clean, honestly. You would think it's quite simple to keep it on the track, but maybe it's just an unbalance in the car that he doesn't like, something like that. That's making him not drive as good as he can, and that was very close to another corner cut. And that was a large track extension, and that's going to be another trigger. Looks like Builder also committed the same infraction. Going on board with Opoki now, who does in fact have 28. If he gets another one, that is a drive-through penalty, and that will just be very unfortunate, and that will most likely ruin his race, really. With Loisetto, who currently has 7 corner cuts compared to the 28 that Opoki currently has. That's just not going to work out. That does not add up together very well. And so with Opoki, what's he going to do? Is he going to be able to hold it clean for 6 more laps, or 8 more laps rather, excuse me? I am not certain that he will be able to. Where Gabriel also is coming very close, so that might be another free place for Loisetto. That could be a free podium just off of keeping it clean. That would be very good for him and his hopes. As you can see, though, drivers are in fact still out there and still setting very good laps. They have to the entire race, really, if they want to have any chance at winning. Just that's the nature of this circuit. You're not very likely to have a safety car because of how big the runoff is, and not only that, so you have nothing to keep the race together, but also it's a very, very technical track. Honestly, I would say this track's probably harder to master than Adelaide, just because of the amount of sweeping corners and different radius corners too. It's just very hard to stay there the entire lap, the entire race even. You have to be on point every single corner if you want to win. And that's what Third Wheel's been doing. He's just been setting his marks and hitting them every lap. That's really what he's been doing. That's all it is. That's the magic of Roblox racing, too. That's all it's about. It's about being the best hot lapper and being the most consistent hot lapper. So, currently, we now have 8 laps to go, and Third Wheel has opened up his gap even more. It looks like Abdi has in fact backed off, so as I fully expected him to do, he's backed off, and has probably told himself, hey listen, I'm going to do my best to not get any more corner cuts, to hold my 3rd place, hold my podium, and really just run my race clean from there. Opoki has in fact now acquired his drive-through penalty. He has hit 29 corner cuts. That is devastating to his current 5th place positioning. Now I'm very interested to see what will happen once he does in fact serve this. If he's going to drop back as much time as G-Man is behind, will G-Man be able to get into the points? That's the question, really, that we have to be asking right now. Maximus has set the new fastest lap by 4 1,000ths of a second. So that would very much help his points standing currently. Let's see, is Opoki going to serve it this lap? It does look like he will. So Opoki is into the pits. He will be serving his... Ooh, that's a very aggressive cut. I'm not sure if the stewards are going to have anything to say about that one. He has served his drive-through though. There goes Loisetto, but it is not enough to drop back behind G-Man. G-Man is just a ways behind. He hasn't even exited the final corner yet, so that's fantastic for Opoki. Now, Warrior Gabriel's the next guy that we got to focus on for the corner cuts, but he's at 23, which is the same as Third Wheel. These guys are really cutting it close on the corner cuts. However, it does appear everyone in the top is really on the fringe of that corner cut penalty. But it doesn't really look like anyone else is, to be honest. 23 seems to be the max right now. So we'll just have to keep an eye on these guys for the end of the race. If they do, in fact, acquire a time penalty for not serving it, or for running out of time to serve it, rather, that would be probably even more devastating than a drive-through penalty itself would be. So currently, according to our steward's information, Builder of World is under investigation for speeding during his drive-through penalty. We'll see if they have any more information on that later on in the race, maybe towards the end if they have made a ruling. But that would just stack on even more problems to his race, as he's really not had a good bout of things. Kundai is fully ahead of him by now, basically by half a lap. So that's just really not good. Does look like Kundai and Jair are closing, or Kundai is closing up to Jair. This could be a battle for 12th place in the event that they do in fact close up enough. However, the next battle does appear to be between G-Man and Omnius, the two G-Mans, if you will. And this could be very valuable in the event that someone like Loisetto gets a time penalty, or a drive-through penalty, rather. That could be very major for the race, as this could be the last points position, or even if, God forbid, something else bad were to happen to them, such as a disconnect or a mechanical failure, this would put one of these guys into the points. So this is the fight for that first position out of the points. Let's see, is Omnius going to be able to get up there? He's got a better line there. G-Man runs a little bit wide. Amius got a better run on the exit there, but we're going to see the Senate S has been decisive all day long, and it remains the same way. As you can see, it's just a variation of line. Whoa, G-Man went really wide there. So that's obviously a cut trigger. But yeah, he's still within the range of good, I would say. I would be very careful if he got to around 26. But Amius is going to take 7th that time by. Good for him there. Third wheel, though, he's still leading and he's still doing very good. TTB has, in fact, been lapped. So that's just a very terrible run today, capped with that. I ran out of words there for a moment. Prime Drifter would be the next car to be lapped, but third wheel's at least 15 seconds or so behind him. I'm not sure that will be an issue during this race with only 4 laps to go. However, anything's possible, as we have seen. So, we'll have to see what happens. G-Man and Amiya still are going side by side, though. And G-Man's not giving up. He really wants that 7th place for everything it could be worth in the event that one of the other drivers has a problem, but it's just not coming together right now very well. Amiya does appear to be the faster driver, too, overall. He's been consistently setting 5/10 or so faster laps. And, I mean, that really adds up over the entire race. So, very, very valuable stuff here. And yet, G-Man's gonna fall behind even more to Amius. As you can see, a full second slower that time was G-Man. And that is a real shame because he was having a fantastic race. Not that I think that would equate out to much at the end of the race, but anything is possible, as we have seen so many times in this league. Anyone else getting really close to the corner cuts? Prime Drifter has 23. I just saw someone that had 26, but that disappeared very fast. Warrior Gabriel's on 25. If he gets 4 more, he's out. But however, with so little time left, I'm not sure it will happen. Third wheel right now is still your leader, and it looks like he's basically led this thing start to finish. Which is quite remarkable if you ask me. A really good showing by him here today. So here he comes down the back straight. And it looks like the battle for second place is back on again. We're going to have a look at this. This is going to be crazy right now. Because let's see. Or maybe I just got jebaited. I think I just got jebaited. Yeah, Abdi's really backed off. That looked like a Velocita, but it was in fact a, I believe that was a Sierra. I could be wrong about that, though. Yeah, I just got completely jebaited into thinking there was a battle for second. But yeah, I mean, Abdi's just backed off. He does not have what it takes today to pull through. Which is really a shame, because I thought he would have been able to capitalize on everything, but he just was not able to. Builder's still in 14th place. He was not able to get past Jair. So his race has really been screwed over by those drive-through penalties. Lap 31 of 32. Prime Drifter's on 27 corner cuts now. He's really been cutting a lot, and Kundai has acquired another drive-through penalty. That's his 3rd of the race. That's just unheard of. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get 3 drive-through penalties in a race, and he's been being lapped by Abdi now. This is just not very good in any way. Let's be real. This is not what you want to see out of a driver. But he's had some pace, so that's a positive, I suppose. Prime Drifter right now, yeah, he's just right there on the border of getting a penalty. And we're going to be going on to the final lap in a quick moment here. Let's jump on board with the third wheel for one last lap around the Argentina circuit. He's going to brake very nicely into turn 1 here. Great apex there on the curb, and they have to get as much space as possible on exit. Short kink. He's going to go into this corner right here. It's a very odd apex, this one, because it kind of sticks out at you. This S kink section is very important to run into this carousel section before the back straight. He's getting it right, it seems. He's basically had a flawless run through those first set of corners, and onto the back straight he does go. We're going to watch him as he goes by here for the final time in this race. Now, into the hairpin he will go. Fantastic run there. As you can see, Kundai does in fact get a drive-through penalty. Double left-hander, one of the most important corners. I say that every corner is pretty much important on this track, let's be real. He's going to go into the Senna S for the final time here. As you can see, he's going to get it right once again. And now going into the final corner. It's been a flawless run today for the third wheel. And he's going to come out of the final corner. And today, we've made history once again. Third wheel will come out and he will win the Argentine Grand Prix for Velocita. A remarkable result for the American. Maximus will pull out of this race with a second. Fantastic result for him. TTB ends 1 lap down in third place. Abdi's going to come through the pits for fourth. That was a very interesting strategy there. He might have gotten a drive-through penalty for all I know. Jair is going to end his race in 13th, 1 lap down. And Warrior is going to manage to get out of this race with 4th. That's a GG for him. Look at this massive group of cars here. 5th and 6th came down to that much. However, Loisetto held it, I should say. Yeah, that was a very challenging race, as you could see. And as the rest of the cars are coming by, it was a pretty much flawless one for third wheel if we're considering all things. He just ran the race he needed to run, and he came out with another win. And he's really cementing his spot as a title competitor. He's looked the best both races this season. That being said, though, Maximus did get the fastest lap, but only by 4 1/1000ths of a second. That's so minor that I couldn't even tell you the gap between it. But yeah, Abdi, all things considered, pulled through with that illness for third. He really struggled with the corner cuts. That was very evident. But he got away with it at the end of the race. We're going to look through your final running order as third wheel tried to do a burnout, and I think he failed pretty bad. Yeah, there you go. That's the type of burnout that you want to see. 2 for 2. That's an old NASCAR tradition, and he's bringing it to F1 in style. Looking at your final results, of course, these are unofficial, as penalties may be added on after the race for multiple reasons. Third wheel takes the win here in Argentina. Second win of the season through 2 races. He's just looking like he's going to dominate this season. Maximus came through with second, which was fantastic for him after not coming here last week. It's a rebound race, and he's going to cement himself for the championship as third wheel completely misses the pit board that he has to come to. Abdi finishes third. Good result. Second podium in 2 races as well for him. He's going to look forward to next week in Spain, where he really needs a good result, a good showing, because, of course, if you remember last year, he had a very terrible crash. 4th place is Warrior Gabriel today. That was a good run from him, starting in, 13th place, 12th place? That was very respectable, once more. In 5th place was Loisetto. He just held off Opoki there for 5th. Opoki, of course, finishing 6th. Last points. Ami has finished 2nd, a full minute down on third wheel. This is some Lewis Hamilton type of gap here. 8th place is G-Man. He could not get that 7th for all it was worth. But still a very fantastic showing regardless. Dirty NASCAR pulled through for 9th place. However, it was apparent that he struggled with the drive-through penalty as well. Prime Drifter in 10th, who may not have served his drive-through penalty. He may get a time penalty, but that will not influence anything with his finishing order. TTB finished 11th, one lap down, as did Kundai, Jair, and Builder. And that's all 14 finishers. Of course, Hardman had a DNF after around lap 7. And yeah, that's all for this race. We'll go down to the podium for the finishing ceremonies. It's a very fantastic race for these drivers, these three on the podium. Each one had a different story. Third Wheels was domination. Maximus's was proving something, or rebounding, if you will, and Abdi's was pretty much damage limitation. So all three of these are very influential. They're all very important to their seasons individually. And yeah, they were all respectable performances too. So credits to these guys on the podium. They did everything they needed to do today. And they are looking good for next week. Of course, next week is the Spanish Grand Prix at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Don't forget to come out and check out the race. I'm unsure if I will be streaming that one or if someone else will. However, if I'm not there, I just wanted to say thank you everyone for coming every week. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel for more RFR content. And as you can see, the podium celebration is underway with the drivers on the podium. A very unusual combo of nationalities: American, Serbian, and British, of course. Yeah, that is it for this week's race in RFR here in Argentina. And yeah, we'll review the point standings in a moment. And yes, we'll go on a quick break and we will talk about that and sign out. Alright everyone, welcome back. We will review the points really quick. In the points championship, driver points, third wheel has won both races, but without the fastest lap, he's only gotten 20 points. And in second place is Abdi, of course, also shown up to both races. He will take 15 total with the 6 gained today. In third place in the points still is Warrior Gabriel, who, after another good result, will keep 10. However, Maximus is sitting right there and waiting to pounce in fourth with 9 points, with that second place and fastest lap. Opake will remain in fifth with 5 points as well, with a 1 point addition today. Loiseto will stay in sixth with 2 plus 2 equaling 4. And Builder, who got his 1 point last week, will remain in seventh. Everyone else has not scored any points yet this season. And those guys will be looking forward to Spain as a way for them to try and score. Obviously, they're going to need it. We still don't know who's going to be actually racing there next week. Of course, we hope that the championship competitors will stay there. However, it might be also nice for once in a while to have an outside driver have a shot at winning. So we'll have to see what happens there. As for the Constructors, I think you guys already know how this is going to go. Velocito wins the Constructors Championship battle again, with 35 total at this point. Williams Mercedes has moved up to second, though, with 14 points. Audi Horch is in third with 10. Dragonborn with, obviously, all of Loiseto's points equaling out to 4. And then PTT with their 1 sole point from Builder last week, and none this week, means that they see in 5th. Everyone else is still yet to score points, as I mentioned, and as I said before, they're going to be looking for next week in Spain as a way for them to score. As for me, that's it today. Please be sure to check out this live stream every week around this time, 2:30 EST to about 4. We will have races every week from now on, pretty much except for the spring, well, not spring, but for the break in between the European season and basically Asia. So, yeah, we will see everyone next week in Spain. And this is JG210 signing out. I hope everyone enjoyed.